Hey, everybody, this is Kevin Henry, editor in chief for drbicuspid.com. Thank you so much for joining us for another podcast. This is a continuation of the series that we are doing with SprintRay, and I'm thrilled to welcome on Dr. Victor Khatchaturian. Dr. Khatchaturian, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. And Victor's fine too.
Well, I appreciate that. I know I'm excited to have you on. I'm excited. I know we're going to talk today about the material revolution that's enabling same day dentistry. We're going to get into that in just a few minutes. But before we dive in, I always love for audience to know a little bit more about you.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. So, my name is Victor Khatchaturian. I'm a general dentist. My practice is in West Hollywood, California. So, kind of, I hate to say it, the stereotypical kind of Hollywood office. So, there is a strong leaning towards, cosmetic dentistry, aesthetic dentistry, but, we do everything kind of under the sun in the practice. So, a lot of airway dentistry, a lot of comprehensive dentistry. So, I've been doing this for 15, 16 years. I'm in the teaching realm as well. So, I love giving back to the profession that's given me so much. So, kind of who I am in a nutshell.
That's great. Well, let me start with a 30,000-foot view question, if that's okay. In your
Sure.
own practice, what impact does same day dentistry and these new materials that are available to us make?
So, I have to give a little bit of background. So, in my practice, I started a scratch practice in a very busy building. There's 50 other dentists in this building. So, and I always kind of mention that because I want your viewers to know that they can do this. I was not gifted a practice. I had to start from scratch. So, it was a huge differentiating factor. So, there were a lot of legacy practices where I am, and a lot of people have not adopted technology kind of quickly enough. So for me, I don't think I'd be here if I didn't have a few differentiating factors, and being able to provide same day dentistry really it really gave me a leg up.
We talk a lot about chairside workflows, and I think so often we think about the digital workflow and what that means. How do materials fit into a workflow in the practice, including maybe on the digital side as well?
It's a fantastic question, and I'm not just saying that because we sometimes get caught up in the materials themselves, but the workflow, the material is useless without the workflow. So I remember I'm kind of a adopter of bleeding edge technology, and I was 3D printing in 2016, and you'd have to leave the 3D printer on overnight, and it just wasn't something that was kind of useful at that time. So being the materials themselves have evolved really coincidentally, really nicely with the workflow. So the workflow really, being able to use digital tools like your intraoral scanner and then having this workflow between the printer, the cleaning unit and the curing unit and being able to do this all in a reasonable amount of time, that really unlocks the biomaterials.
You mentioned your early adoption of 3D printing, and I'm curious, why did you hop on that trend then, and how have you seen it change to now?
So why I hopped on was, kind of specific to my practice. I was it was a square footage issue. So I didn't have a particularly big practice, and like I mentioned, I started from scratch, and I didn't have enough room for a lab. So I saw the potential in this, and I wanted to get in on the ground floor. And obviously, it wasn't quite ready for prime time 10 years ago, but it's evolved so much. But really, the decisions that I've made are mostly about practicality. I know sometimes we get caught up, and as dentists, we're all kind of like engineers at heart, and the tech is cool, but if it's not practical, it's not useful. And it really, all the decisions I make are based on the practicality of it.
I've asked some of the other guests on this podcast this question. I'm going to ask it to you as well, because I've always felt like when we talk same day dentistry, people automatically think of CAD CAM, but they don't
Yeah.
automatically think of the 3D printing being a part of that. Are we at the point where we should be including 3D printing in any same day dentistry conversation?
Yeah, I think we've passed that event horizon already. So with the workflows that are out there right now, whether it's restorative or there's so many indications. And I know a couple of podcasts ago it was actually I genuinely listened to the podcast. I think it was like 17 indications was the title of that one. So there's a lot of different indications, but same day, we're doing same day retainer, same day restoration, same day mag cords from time to time. So the indications are changing constantly. So I think we're definitely past that. CAD CAM's great. I've been an early adopter of CAD CAM too, but everything has its pros and cons. So I think where we are with 3D printing, really, lowers the bar of entry to so many practitioners.
One thing I'm curious about is we've talked about materials at the very start, and I want to circle back to that if I could, because there are so many options out there. How do
Yeah.
you, as a clinician, pick the material that you think is right for your practice and your patients?
So I have based on my practice, ethos, and we practice very minimally invasive dentistry. Some would say biomechanical engineer dentistry, and so my goal is to conserve as much tooth structure as possible. And so for me, these biomaterials, the evolution has been, I know as an industry we're leaning heavily into like zirconia and things like that, and zirconia is something I use in my practice, maybe not as much as the majority of the country, but having these less invasive materials, the biomaterials that we get from 3D printing allow for less invasive procedures. They have more they have more flex to them. They act more like a natural tooth. So they're allowing me to provide patients with something that they maybe couldn't do. The barrier of entry may have been too high before, and now we're able to provide it to more patients.
All right. This may sound like a strange question, but I always enjoy asking dentists, when you find a material that you're very comfortable with, how hard is it to try something new?
As dentists, and I think I forget the data on the exact stats on this, but we're very brand loyal, and we're it's hard to get people to switch from one thing to the other. I still use, like for example, I use a ton of porcelain in my office. I still like the things that I like. The thing that I would want the audience to understand is, you're not necessarily wanting to chase the newest biomaterial and change your practice for the biomaterial. There's blind spots in our practice. There's things that we don't always get to offer the patient. And that's where these materials kind of fit in best for me. It to be something that people realize like, hey, maybe I wasn't offering conservative dentistry before because it just wasn't really an option. But now when you can deliver it in 45 minutes, it really lowers that barrier of entry.
And how big of a mind shift is it to go from maybe traditional dentistry to minimally invasive dentistry and some of the things that you're doing in California right now?
So, I was primed really well for it. I went to USC, and we had Pascal Manaie there, and so I got indoctrinated very early. But what I would want people to hear, and I educate across the country and different dentists across the country, is it's not just this kind of like hoity-toity fancy thing for few people. All our patients want less invasive treatment. So I might be geared towards it, but wherever the dentist is, if they're used to cutting a tooth for a composite, they're doing a lot of the same preparations. It's just changing the material mindset that's
Mm.
going in there. So, I don't want it to seem like some, West Coast kind of elitist level of dentistry. This is something, all dentists want to be less invasive to their patients. And generally, dentists want to put in their patients what they would put into their own mouth. And, this allows anyone, regardless of the kind of practice they run, to be less invasive.
As a clinician out there lecturing, teaching, what's one of the biggest questions you often get?
Adoption, what are the barriers to adoption, right? So the number one question I'll get is like, well, do I need to have a lab technician involved? Who do I need to add to my team? Who can do this for me? I'm so swamped doing wearing the 18 hats we all wear as dentists and practice owners, that like, who's gonna take this on, because I just can't add any more to my plate. And I think that's where the workflow that you mentioned is so important, because it's basically color by numbers.
So as we wrap up, I always like to ask, is there anything we didn't touch upon that you really want our viewers and our listeners to know about?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I really want people to take home is, there are, different pain points in our industry, whether it's getting patients to sign up for treatment, agree to treatment, I know you've had a few podcasts about the hiring problem that's going on right now. One thing that helps is, my team gets to do more things, that they get to take more off my plate, which keeps them more, engaged with the practice. They're not just doing the same thing forever. And it makes it a more appealing position to be in, whether you're a team member, whether you're a treatment coordinator. So it's not like a technology for the few. I think we're at a unique position where we're going to look back on this and be, remember when people were only a few people were doing this? And it's just going to be ubiquitous across the practice.
I know we've talked a lot today about different subjects, different things, but I always know that our listeners and viewers love to follow up. Is there a way that they can get a hold of you or learn more about your practice? And as you said, how you differentiated it there in a very saturated market?
Yeah. So for anyone that's interested, if you're on social media, Dr. Victor DDS on Instagram is a great way to do it. If you're interested in educational opportunities, ManaieEducation.com. It's the part of Pascal Manier's teaching courses. So I'm faculty there, and resident faculty at Spear Education. So any one of those places, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
So, and again, thanks so much for being on today, Dr. Khatchaturian. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for your insight.
Honestly, the pleasure was all mine. I've been listening for so long, so I'm so happy to be able to get on here.
Well, I'd love to have you back. Let's just make that happen at some point. That'd be
Okay,
fantastic.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds
Mhm.
great to me. And again, this has been part of a continuing series that we have done in conjunction with SprintRay. We're going to put the links to the other podcasts that we have done previously in this series that are kind of building on that same day dentistry track in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on Apple or Spotify, or if you're watching this on Dr. Bicuspid, very easy. Everything's in the article and it's just one click away. So until next time, it's Kevin Henry, editor in chief for Dr. Bicuspid, signing off. And as always, wishing you nothing but success.